Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about PlayStation Vita, Nintendo Switch, GameCube, N64, and a whole lot more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about PlayStation Vita emulation on Android with Vita3k, and Vita3k on Android has officially released. I've already got a tutorial of it on this channel. If you wanted to check it out, I'll drop a link in the description below. If you wanted to pick it up on your own, it's 100% free. You can pick it up from Vita3k.org. Click on download here, and at the bottom of the page you'll see Android Nightly, so you can pick it up right from GitHub. Next up, we're talking about GameCube and Wii emulation with Dolphin, and Dolphin has just released their progress report for December and January. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. We're kind of just going over it at a high level. One of the very first things on this report is a great tip if you are using Dolphin on a laptop with an NVIDIA GPU. There's a performance tip here that might really help out the emulator for you. If you are on Windows, it's heavily encouraged to manually go into your NVIDIA settings, add in Dolphin as one of the programs, and change the management mode to prefer maximum performance, and that should resolve a ton of issues for you. For Android users, there's a friendly reminder here that you can join the beta testing program right from the Google Play Store. Go to the Google Play Store, navigate to Dolphin Emulator, scroll down, and you'll see the option to join the beta testing program. It'll hook you up with the latest and greatest versions of Dolphin. One of the more notable changes as of late was the addition of VI Skip, which has just been renamed to VBI Skip, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Vertical Blanking Interval. This helps out performance on a whole bunch of games and might make them playable if you're using an underpowered device. The VBI setting is available on PC and also for Android users. Although it doesn't improve frame rate, it will make games more playable, or at least should. In addition to that, the Skylanders Portal of Power is now available to be emulated if you want to. There's been a whole bunch of bug fixes, performance improvements, and a whole lot more. I do recommend checking out that progress report. It's a great read. And speaking about progress reports, next up we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC with Ryujinx, and they just released their progress report. We've covered some of this stuff in previous videos, but I will link the report in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's a great read. One of the things covered in this is the fix of the memory leak for AMD, Intel, and Apple GPUs. There is the memory used before, and there is the VRAM used after, and there's a huge difference and a huge improvement. Interestingly enough, the Ryujinx team has also relaxed their Vulkan requirements to allow the emulator to work on a whole bunch more devices, including stuff like the Raspberry Pi. Now, it is worth pointing out the performance of Ryujinx on the Pi is awful, considering the Pi isn't a very powerful device, but there is a very interesting sentence here. We're hopeful that newer Qualcomm devices might be interesting in the future. You might want to pay attention to Ryujinx. I'm curious to see what they have up their sleeve. In addition to that, there's been a whole bunch of bug fixes and improvements, especially to the macOS build. There has also been an update to the LDN build, which is their multiplayer build, and it greatly improves Pokemon games on AMD GPUs. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to it in the description below. On a fun side note here, the X-Link-Kai team has gotten crossplay up and running between an unmodded Nintendo Switch, Ryujinx, and Yuzu playing Mario Kart. Absolutely wild. If you are curious about this one just a little bit, the X-Link-Kai team is looking for beta testers, so I'll drop a link to their page in the description below as well, and feel free to check it out. But moving on, and we're still talking about Switch emulation and still talking about progress reports, this time with Yuzu, and I'll leave a link to this progress report in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. It's well written and worth a read. One big improvement for Yuzu was with AMD GPUs and Windows and cache loading. It now loads a heck of a lot faster than it used to before, and will save people a ton of time when you're trying to boot a game. And for not AMD but all GPUs, you should see reduced stuttering when encountering new shaders for basically every single game out there, which should make Yuzu run a whole lot smoother. On top of that, there's been a whole bunch of work done behind the scenes to help out GPUs and rendering, making a whole lot of games look a heck of a lot better. Some of those improvements are a result of Bylaws, who is the developer for Skyline. Yes, Skyline is helping out Yuzu. Yuzu sometimes helps out Skyline as well. So you can see here on the left is near before and on the right is near after. A huge rendering difference, thanks to bylaws. For macOS users, Ryujinx is kind of leading the pack, but Yuzu is coming up strong. They've made a ton of progress for macOS. Yuzu's also had a bunch of bug fixes, performance improvements, and new features, like the addition of a turbo button. There's also a brand new project on the horizon here, Project Lime. I have no idea what this might be. If you do, let me know in the comments below. However, on a bit of a depressing note here, it looks like they've started discussions to discontinue support for OpenGL. They say fixes and improvements that are critical for Vulkan are becoming a chore to port to OpenGL. If you rely on OpenGL for Yuzu, it looks like those days are pretty numbered. And lastly for Yuzu, mainline version 1338 just released, and this is a nice one. It enables games to set gyro sensitivity, which fixes motion controls in Metroid Prime. And they've also fixed more crashes here with Metroid Prime. Next up, we're still talking about Switch emulation, but this time on Android with Skyline, and Skyline just got a brand new update to the mainline build. If you head to skyline-emu.1 and click on download, at the time of filming here, version 1869, nice, just released. Interestingly enough, someone has Rayman Legends up and running on a Pico 4, which is a VR headset. Absolutely crazy and really cool. Moving on, and we're talking about The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on PC, and we talked about this one before, but there's a brand new project on GitHub to possibly make the whole process a lot easier. It's called the Zelda 3 Launcher, and it's supposed to be a one-click solution to download, extract, and compile pretty much everything you need in order to play the game, except for the ROM. You do have to provide that yourself. Version 1.0.0.0 just released last week, and version 1.1.0.0 just released, and it does include a settings menu. It's free, it's open source, and if you're curious about it, I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Next up, we're talking about Sega Saturn emulation on Android with Yaba Sanshiro 2 and Yaba Sanshiro 2 Pro. Both of these emulators got a brand new Vulkan core, and it should help out performance overall, so feel free to check them out. And last up here, Zealous Chuck has a video of Fallout 1 CE that has been ported to the PS Vita. It's very interesting. If you wanted to see this video, I'll leave a link to it in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.